Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at the protective case for both your Switch Joy-Con and dock from PlayVital. Now before we actually get into any particulars, I do want to tell you that although they're calling this a protective case, on my end, although it does offer a small extra level of protection to your Switch, your Joy-Cons, and your dock, I am rather looking at this as a way to customize your Nintendo Switch without having to do any disassembly. So anyone who's uncomfortable with disassembling your Switch by fear of breaking it or anything like this, I think that this could be an excellent option to look at to be able to nonetheless customize your Switch and give it a little bit of extra visual appeal. Also, before we get into the gist of this video, I do want to specify as usual that this is not a sponsored video. However, I do want to thank PlayVital because they did send me all of this for free to test out and to talk to all of you about if I was interested and I liked their product. And obviously, at any point in the video, if you're interested in looking at what other variations they have on the models, because you're looking at one here, but they have a lot of visual variations to the different protective cases that they're offering. If you want to check that out, I'll be putting their link in the video description down below, as well as a couple of affiliate links to the actual models that I've tested out here in case you want to pick up anything for yourself. But as I said, other than giving me the products for free, all of the opinions I'm going to express are purely mine, and you'll see there are some really good things about these products, but there are also a few downsides that we'll look at a little bit later in the video. Now, with a product like this, I really think the best place to start is with a close-up to see how you install this product, how easy it is, and then we'll talk, as I said later, about some of the positives and negatives about this product. So just as we're getting to the close-up, don't forget that if you do like this content, to please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Now, the first accessory I want to take a look at is the dock protector, because basically this thing is a simple panel with little teeth here that grip onto your dock, and installation is as quick and simple as basically placing it over your dock, pressing down, and it is installed. You are done. From the top, everything comes in nice and neat, and honestly, if someone doesn't actually take their dock into their hands, they have no idea that this is a simple panel covering your dock. Now, secondly, we have the tablet section that here is basically a covering that fits on the tablet. Only thing, it's a very tight fit. It's easy to install, but you've got to get it started properly. So basically, normally I would recommend trying to fit it over your Switch to begin with. Now, once you have it installed, it actually form fits your Switch quite perfectly, and it even has access to all of the different ports. Your USB-C port at the bottom with the little hooks that basically go into your dock. You have the speaker grills at the back that have cutouts. You have access to your stand as well. At the top, you have access to your game card slot as well as your speaker access port. The ventilation port also has an opening. And both the power button and the volume rocker work very well even when you're within the case. So for the tablet section, that is pretty much it once again. Now, the only slightly more complex installation, and complex is a big word, and it is only more complex if you decide to do the different colored buttons, as you can see here. So I basically purposefully installed the colored buttons on one side, but I did not on the other. But for the basic shell, it's just as quick as the other parts. You basically line this up, you press in, and your Joy-Con is in the shell. And once again, it is very form-fitting. Unless you actually have this in your hand and you knew that a Joy-Con didn't come like this, you would think this is actually part of the basic Joy-Con. Now, as I pointed to earlier, the only thing that will require a little bit of work is if you decide to add on the colored button covers. Now, installing them isn't all that tricky. All you need to do is use these double-sided tape cutouts. Basically, you would take one of these little circles, attach them to the inside of your button, wait just for a minute for the adhesive to adhere, then remove the adhesive cover and basically stick it on top of your regular button. And basically, this is what you would end up with. A Joy-Con that looks like it has 4 different colored buttons, sort of like the old Super Famicom. And let me tell you that this adheres very well. Once they're there, honestly, these aren't going anywhere. Will they last for years and years? Maybe not, but they will definitely last quite a decent amount of time. Now, honestly, overall, except for the colored buttons, the installation of all this took under 5 minutes. So now that we've gone through the installation, let's take a look at what are the good and bad sides of these products. Now, with a product like this, I think that the advantages to it are pretty self-evident, but nonetheless, let's take a few seconds to look at it. I think that the most obvious example is this is probably the easiest and fastest way to customize your Switch and give it, like I said earlier, a little bit of extra flair. And maybe to anyone who's a little bit less tech savvy or simply doesn't want to take any risks at all with their Switch at disassembling it and switching the actual shell to the Switch, I think that this is a really high quality option to actually manage and customize your Switch. Now, secondly, there's also the extra level of protection. Now, for that, I would more specify the Switch and Joy-Con part of it because the extra level of protection for the dock is so apparent. However, to the actual Switch and Joy-Cons itself, I do think it adds a decent extra level of protection. And I would even say, further than that, more specifically, my favorite part of it protection-wise is the actual addition of it on the Joy-Cons. And you know what? If you play games like Just Dance and you don't use the arm straps, which I personally am very guilty of because I never take the time to go grab those straps when I play with my kids, dropping the Joy-Con with this on it, especially because of its rubberized, texturized feel, I am a lot less worried that a Joy-Con is going to break in one of these than just with the Joy-Con on its own. Now, the actual protection to the Switch itself, as I said, is existent, but of course, dropping your Switch in this, I would still be worried that the screen would get damaged, which is why, like I said, I really appreciate the extra level of protection it adds to the Joy-Cons. Now, if we talk about the dock part itself, I really think that the only major advantage for the dock part is the visual appeal, because ultimately it is a fast way to be able to mod your dock, have a better overall visual appeal, and not have to disassemble it. If you look at a different video I did, I actually already modded my dock because my original dock has the Nintendo NES finish. But just disassembling and reassembling it is a 10 to 15 minute process. A lot of people can find that long, while installing this on your dock, as you saw during the close-up, that's how long it takes. Now that we've gone through that, I think, like I said, the good sides are pretty obvious. Now let's talk about a couple of the disadvantages. I'm going to start right out with the biggest disadvantage to this whole setup, and it's the only disadvantage that is directly related to the product. And that is that when you have it installed on your Switch, the fit in the dock is very tight. When I'm saying very tight, if I look, the Switch is not fully in the dock. Normally you drop your Switch and it sort of drops to the bottom of your dock. If you want to dock this, you really have to force it for that last inch. When I say force, it's not an extreme level of pressure, but you've got to push down on it. Especially the first time you're doing it, it's probably going to be an even tighter fit and it'll loosen up after putting it once or twice. However, it does fit in, and once it's in there, okay? And you can see this as an advantage, but it is very hard to knock the Switch out when it is in the dock. Once it's in the protector, it's not going to fall out as usual. However, I had no problems with it connecting to the TV. Once you do put a little bit of pressure on it, get it to the bottom of the dock, everything works as intended. The only thing I've noticed is that sometimes when you remove it, you've got a little bit of sort of indication that there was a little bit of pressure on the screen at the bottom here, which is never going to damage your Switch because it is rubberized on the inside of the dock. It's just that it'll be sort of smudged. And I personally have no problem with it. Like I said, I don't have to put an amount of pressure that makes me worried about damaging the Switch. I just want you to know that that is existent and that the first time you fit it in, you might have to put a bit of pressure there. Now, the rest of the downsides to these items are not actually downsides, as I said, to the package themselves. It's more things that I want to make you aware of because I have a huge variety of accessories. It's that basically installing these on your Switch will affect the compatibility with certain other accessories you might be using. If you're using a grip, this is not going to fit in because of the extra width that the protective case adds to your Switch. So if you're using any kind of grip that basically attaches and that isn't adjustable, there is a almost guaranteed chance that if you're using this protective case, you won't be able to keep using your grip at the same time. You'll have to take your Switch out of the protective case to fit into your grip. There's also an incompatibility if you're using an accessory that looks like this, a Joy-Con replacement / combined grip. If you have the protector on your tablet, unfortunately, it generally will no longer fit as well. The last major accessory that I also came across that would be incompatible if you're using the protective case on the tablet section of your Switch would be the Hori split pad. Unfortunately, because of the way it connects, it doesn't fit all the way into your Switch. I just want to be clear, I can't really call those negatives about the products themselves, because incompatibility with other accessories is something that happens on a regular basis with a bunch of other accessories as well. However, those incompatibilities were important enough that I thought it was at least worth mentioning in case you use those accessories on a regular basis to not drop your cash on this and then be disappointed having not realized that you couldn't use those two products combined together. So ultimately, the only real main negative about the product is that it fits tightly into your dock. It's not an ultimate negative, it might just make a few people uncomfortable. And overall, the price they're selling these products for, by the way, is about $15 for the combination of the Joy-Con protectors and the actual tablet protector itself, so the Switch part of the protector. And it's another $15 for the cover to your Switch dock. Personally, I would have liked to see the cover for the Switch dock be a few dollars cheaper, because ultimately it does feel like you're getting way more in this part of the product than the actual dock protector, but for the moment at $15 a piece, it's still a decent priced offering. And maybe as a final note, I really want to reiterate how my favorite part of this whole setup really is the Joy-Con protectors. And PlayVital, if you're listening, I would honestly recommend you maybe sell the Joy-Con protectors on their own separately for a few dollars less, because I would easily pick up 3 or 4 versions of the Joy-Con protectors. Simply because I have very bland gray Joy-Cons and I enjoy being able to swap out visually what they look like based on how I'm feeling at any given time. So anyway, that is pretty much it for my overview of the PlayVital Switch protective accessories. Now don't forget that if you want to pick up any of them for yourself, the link to their Amazon store is in the description of the video down below, as well as a couple of affiliate links of my own. And just on the way out, don't forget that if you did like the content, as I said earlier, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when all my future videos come out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.